Let's do it.
Cool.
So I'm clicking go live on YouTube and on LinkedIn. And we should be live on YouTube as well as on LinkedIn. Very nice.
Right on.
Cool. Welcome, everyone.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome. I'm missing the green screen, Steven.
Oh yeah, it's gone now. It's gone.
But this is much better.
It actually is right there on the other side, but it's not acting as a green screen. It's just actually just shielding light from the outside.
This is better, but also like the green screen was like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, Steven.
Yeah, you know, it's like these things kind of evolve. I think that's kind of the fun stuff with doing all this. And then I had those jazz posters for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I am trying to replicate that. It's like we're doing the three videos, so you can't quite see it as much. But there's still a jazz guy back.
I can switch for a second.
Yeah, still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, see there we got Monk there, and I got another. It was actually kind of cool. I went onto eBay, and I bought real versions of those two posters. So I just got to frame them and put them back up.
So basically replicated the green screen design. Nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it. I'm a little behind. It was hard to find like frames that actually fit those exact posters, but that's the plan.
Yeah, super off topic, but finding frames for like random posters, it's
it's hard, huh?
It's so hard.
You got to make sure you buy the poster that's the right size to begin with, so you can just go to the store and get one.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane. In any case, welcome everyone to the first episode of Make Content Work. Today with Steven G. Pope, a show for entrepreneurs and hustlers who know video content is crucial but really challenging. And we dive deep with people who made it work for their business, made the content work for their business, and try to dive deep and uncover their challenges and key factors that made it work for them. And today with Steven, and I have one video that I think sums what you do, Steven, and why it's so great prepared here. So I will just pop it up and play it really quickly. It may be a little bit loud, but I think this is really a good sum up.
Right on. There are only two types of content creators in the game right now. Those that are struggling to put out daily content, and those that develop a system that allows them to consistently create persuasive content on a daily basis in a way that doesn't overwhelm them or stress them out. And I get it. I was there too. When I first started creating content, it was hard. I remember sitting there the night before without an idea, waking up the next day with nothing to say, knowing that I had committed to post. Since that time, I've created more than 3,000 pieces of content, and I was only able to do it because I came up with a system to come up with ideas, a system to write out those ideas, a system to get myself on camera on a regular basis, and a team that could take all of that video content and edit it in a cost-effective way. So if you don't want to be one of the strugglers, you need to come up with a system that works for you. You need a way to generate ideas and get on camera on a regular basis, and a system to take that video and process it and get it all the way to the finish.
And that's it. I think like this really sums what you are doing really great. And we are super curious about it because I think so many people can relate to this. And we do too. That's why we do this show, because we want to learn from the best. Because really running a business and doing a content, coming up with the ideas every day is really hard. But I believe there are systems that can be put into place to make it work.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Thanks for being on the show, man.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny watching those videos because like, I mean, there's like, when I watch that, I like 2 years flash through my head because that's like the summation of so much like work. I've been having this mantra lately, and we can get into more of this, but like everyone runs into all these little things. Like your path is going to be unique from your business, from what your product is, from if you're afraid to be on camera, whether you're good with it, whether you're a good speaker or not. But the one thing that everyone has that I've seen that was helped them be successful was a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And the commitment to doing it, because all of the roadblocks that you hit are easily solvable if you're not getting overwhelmed by giving yourself too much to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you're staying focused on some of the core things, because that's the thing. I just find people start doing too much stuff and they just can't. It's impossible for them to actually to do what they need to do.
I have a note for that later in the show, so I'm looking forward to that. And we have like a really amazing show lined up for you yesterday, everyone. Alex, let's start with the intro. A little bit of background of Steven.
So So I did a little bit of a homework. I went back all the way.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you are a bit too loud. Can you maybe tune down a little bit your
Yeah.
mic?
I will do it. Is the gain or the volume?
The gain.
Yeah, should be better now. Is it better?
Is it better?
First
And
time
hey,
with Blue Yeti.
Pocket Video School, super happy to have you again on our streams after so long. So cool to see you are still watching us. That's so nice.
And we have some comments on LinkedIn as well. Hello, Irmele, and hello, Joanna. All right.
Everyone.
I shouldn't be saying that I'm using Blue Yeti. I'm gonna piss off so many podcasters. But yeah. So I did a little bit of a homework, Steven. I went back all the way to your childhood. I'm
Oh,
just
wow.
kidding. It starts with you selling the software development agency. So yeah, it started with that. I checked some interviews. You talked about it. Maybe if you wanna elaborate on that, or I could just go on, and you can stop me if you want to add something. But yeah, as I know, your journey started with that. So
yeah, I mean, so I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I built that company pretty much right out of college, and I was younger then, and I had time to kind of just mess around and build it out and make a bunch of mistakes. And I would got clients. There was some point where I got a lot of traction. I was doing good work for people, and I started to grow the business. I was growing that business primarily through content. It was like thought leadership blogging, and in the tech space, there's also, like GitHub and contributing to the communities around code and your thoughts and stuff. So I was doing a lot of that, and that's really how I grew that business, is like thought leadership content. It was just in a different age. And then when I sold that company, it was like a rude awakening. I had forgotten really how hard it was to grow a business. I was also afraid of being on video and speaking and all those kind of things. And so when I went to start the next business, which was actually related to technology, and I am doing technology again in a weird way, but I committed to do video, and I started to just get on video. I was afraid, like a lot of people are. I was stressed out. I couldn't sleep at night. But then I just committed. I bought coaching programs. Learned how to do this, learned how to do that, kept going on video. And that's really the kind of like how I got here now, and just started building out the systems using my technology background to solve a lot of the problems I was running into. That's kind of the journey of building that business and then selling it and then getting going again.
So you already, like when you were running the first technological business, you already were in a space of creating content, and you were like, wow, content is powerful. And it was like, it was a growth channel for you, or how does it? Like,
I was creating content, but it was more written. It was either blogging or actually writing code, and people taking my code down from like places like GitHub.
Okay.
But I will say this, I didn't quite understand how it was working. Like, it wasn't like, if I had the realization, like the intellectual just awareness of like, I would have doubled down on it like 8 times. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, and it was only when I sold the company that I kind of came out of my hole and was like, man, look at what's going on here. Like, people are building these massive businesses just by going online and hitting live and recording videos and just sharing their point of view. So I was growing the business that way. It wasn't as intentional as it should have been. And now, but I did notice though, I was like, man, like, cause I did start writing blogs again after that. And I was like, man, this is hard. Like, I'm dyslexic, so writing for me is hard to begin with. And then I was like, I started reading all the SEO stuff. I was like, man, I'm not going to be competitive here. Like, this is like such a crowded space. Like, like, I'm not saying people can't be successful with SEO, but that seems like probably one of the hardest channels to win if you're starting now.
That's super interesting, because Veed is built around SEO, and we learned so much by the acquisition around SEO and content space. And I find it's really something different, like the content that you do on video and how it manifested in networks, or at least in my experience in my networks, and the content that is put out to generate leads. It's more like sales, but this kind of content for me is more of a branding, where even if we have like really little viewership, there are people being like, oh yeah, like in Prague meetups, like, yeah, I know you are doing those weird videos, right? And I'm like,
crazy how it works.
Yeah.
Like, so I know people that are like, some of my clients actually are very successful with SEO. I just think it's a very intentional skill that you need to know, and it's very technical, and like you're probably spending quite a bit of money and time on it to win. And to your point too, like it's crazy, like what happens. So that's probably the part of the mindset thing, is that it's hard to understand how it's all going to play out. But I had Kajabi, the big course creator platform, they reached out to me at one point. They're like, hey, somebody posted one of your TikToks into our Facebook group and we want to talk to you. And I was like, whoa. I was like, that was, so I've had I've had lots of the experiences where somebody just sees one video on TikTok and they book a call and they become a client, which I think that's the thing that everybody wants. But the real value is in people sharing your stuff into Facebook groups. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, so like people's point of view is a little short-sighted. I mean, I love of course, everyone wants, I publish a video and I get a client, right? That's very transactional and not where you see the scalable growth.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember seeing one of your older posts. I think you shared like a result of a form you had for a client. You have something like, "How did you find me?" or something like this, and it was through a TikTok. Would you say is your like best performing channel at the moment for acquiring new clients?
Right now, it's TikTok. Yeah, I get a lot of influx from TikTok. I get them from LinkedIn as well. And I'm starting to see a big influx on my YouTube.
Yeah, that was what I was curious about.
And I only have 700 subscribers, or maybe it's almost 800 now. That channel is actually starting to grow pretty fast. Like I'm getting 100 subscribers a month now, which I didn't think was possible until I just started going for it. And now I'm like, whoa, this is going to be my long-term growth. This is where I can sit and like have, because what I find is happening is people go from TikTok over to YouTube, and then they consume lots of the longer form video, and they get really comfortable with me. I had one client that signed up, and on the sales call, he was like, here's two really interesting stories. One client, like we were going through the sales process, and then he shared a screen. I can't remember why. But then he's like, yeah, check out my Notion. And then he went to Stephen G. Pope was in one of the tabs. And then he had like all these videos of me. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's cool. But I just didn't, like you would never know that was happening. We had never even talked. Like he had shown up on one of my TikTok lives. And then since then he had been compiling these folders. And then there was another client that I got who was really interesting, is like when we were going through the sales process, I was explaining one of the testimonials from one of my clients, and I didn't say that client's name. I was just saying the story. I was like, yeah. And there's another client, I've been working with him for 2 years, and we've more than doubled his business a couple times. And he's like, oh, you're talking about Kirk. And I was like, you know his name. That's crazy. And man, that's like, and so those stories are so powerful. And it's not what people are actually looking for. Most of the time people call me like, hey, when will I get my first client? I'm like,
yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah, you will get one, but like there's a much bigger thing going on here. And so
the mindset is just different in the content. Like it's so interesting. Like, and I believe that's why it's so hard for companies to pull off the content game in this format, like really going into the content and making content and not sales videos.
Right.
Because like for us, it's a story that I love to share. Like we had 250 subscribers on YouTube and we sold our company because of the content.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like that's the power of the content. Like you don't need to reach millions, thousands. You need to reach the right people. And the connection you create with the people who watch your videos, even if it's like 1 minute, is so much stronger than just a text or a blog post. Like it's stronger. You get so much more. And if you are curious, you can click through, right? And as you said, like from TikTok to YouTube, that's why we believe into in the repurposing stuff. So that's super cool.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, and I do see it's very hard for companies, and you'll see also companies start and they immediately quit. And I'm still trying to learn how to communicate it to people. Sometimes you're selling steak to vegetarians, and it's just the bridge is too far. But if I've been, this is another mantra, and it's not really that helpful ultimately, but I've been telling people, I was like, look, if I could go back and tell myself right now that I would be scaling my business very quickly by making content, I would go tell myself that. So, and then I know my previous self would be like, well, I already know I should be creating content. I've seen Gary Vee. He told me I should be doing this. So I'm going to be doing it. But right now I would say, do more of it, do it faster, like get more honed in, like make more of it. Not because it's good, not because it'll immediately work, but because it'll help you get faster.
Yeah.
Or it'll help you get better faster. Cause like I'm really good at making videos now. I mean, I've made 3,000 videos and they work.
It's insane. It's like what he says is so like with the time lag, sometimes it just clicks for me. It's like, yeah, he was right. I'm talking about Gary Vee, right? Like as you say, like it's not only about putting out the content just to get more views, but to learn, to become better at speaking, at doing videos, at creating the stories in your head. Like becoming a good storyteller is hard. And I want to get into like your story right now. So you said in one of your TikToks that there are 3 types of people. Or one who are killing it with the content, others that started and quit, and the rest who are sitting on the sidelines. So I'm curious, like, why are you the one that is killing it?
It's only because of the commitment. And I also have like, I've taken some, so I've looked at certain people that are killing it too, like Gary Vee. There's a Chris Walker who I've learned a lot from as well on LinkedIn. And I was like, man, like they're just creating a ton of content and they're getting really good at it. And so I was able to make the mental leap. I was like, I don't know exactly how this is going to play out. I didn't even like, I was even kind of like morphing through different products and stuff. Interestingly enough, I literally designed my current products through creating content, which is, I think is really interesting as well. But it was really the commitment, man. I was just like, man, these guys are killing it. There's no reason why that can't be me.
Yeah.
And I just started creating content. And I will say that I did not give up. I kept, every time something got me down, I was a little bit out of place yesterday for a given reason or this reason, or I woke up, I didn't have a piece of content. I just kept doing it. There were lots of weekends and things where I didn't want to do certain things and I did them anyway.
So what made you do it? Because like that's easier said than done, right? It's like, yeah, of course, like commitment, yes, but like it's,
well, I want to be
exactly
the best.
Those,
man.
It's those like Fridays when you are already tired after hard meetings and you're like, now I need to do the content, and you don't have the energy. Like, what was what made you like switch and change?
Well, I do have like a mission and a vision. I do want to help a lot of people like reach their maximum potential. And I feel like this is probably one of the best ways I can do that. So I have a purpose. I want to be the best. I want to provide a lot of value to people. I have a family. I don't want a job, like, so there's a mixture of all these things. It's like, yeah, there was things I didn't want to do, but like, I do get to wake up and, take my kids to school, and I get to pick them up. If my wife is sick, I can, so it's like, it's wanting to live a certain lifestyle. It's wanting to be an entrepreneur at any cost.
So it's the motivation. It's like the like,
and purpose, like having a purpose for your life, like a why you get up every day. Like, because, every day I get up, maybe like you guys, maybe when you had your other company, maybe when you were going through the sales process of your company and you're negotiating these things, and you're going to have all these fears and anxieties. And for the majority of all those fears and anxieties are not real. Like they're just fake, essentially. And so there has to be some sort of trigger that helps you realize that and then just continue moving forward. And for me, that was my purpose and the mission and all that kind of stuff, and just the life I wanted to live. And then I did enjoy making content. I started to realize, hey, I'm really getting good at this. I'm articulating my point of view. I've never been good at that. I've never been able to get up. Like every story I've told already here on this thing, I've told that probably 1,000 times now. And I enjoy those little stories, and they just get a little more intricate each time. And I learn what makes an impact on other people. I see their smile, or they're confused. So I just continue to hone these little stories, and I have, like 10 or 15 of them. It's only 10 or 15, but they're really honed in, and they prove certain points to people. Right. And that's powerful. It's not learning how to tell a million stories so that at the campfire you can come up with like ghost stories or something like that. It's like, how do you tell the most important critical stories of your life to help somebody else see them walking the same path and then giving you a big check? I mean, that's ultimately what it is.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned purpose, you mentioned motivation, but also to like discuss it from a more practical point of view, I think it's a nice bridge to discuss the whole automation process, right? Because that must be helping you a lot with creating content consistently. And basically, as Johan said, you're tired on Friday night, but you still need to create one more video. You have a nice process in place. Would you maybe, I know, to circle back a little bit, you used to, when you sold the company, you started another one, right? But you described that you kind of lost the drive because you were just exploring marketing at the same time, and it was more fun for you. And you even started a little marketing group advising people, right? And based on that, you were iterating. Would you say like this helped you find the right process for yourself and then for your clients?
And
ultimately,
I also have one more question to that, because it connects. I think, like, how do you came up with the content that you should do? Because that's hardest for us.
Like the content for
like what to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I do have like I do have something that I walk through with clients, but like, I mean, you got to just talk about the three, there's usually 3 to 4 main pillars of what you're going to talk about. And here's the other thing is like, you can only do so much to figure this out in the beginning. So I run clients through this process, but in the end, how you learn to make content for people is by creating it and getting feedback on what they actually like. So I get lots of incoming messages on LinkedIn at this point that people are like, hey man, thanks for that video. Thanks for that video. That was cool. Can you tell me more about this? Can you tell me more about that? So it's all really driven by other people at this point. But in the beginning, it's like, what are the main pillars that you want to talk about? So you guys do video and equipment and live streaming and those different things. And then it's just like, what are the things you see in the future that people can take advantage of, or risks they can avoid? So those are great topics. What are objections to your product? Creating content that overcomes those objections. What are the outcomes that people want? So how does your product or service, how does it help them achieve those outcomes? So those are probably some of the best things. Frequently asked questions. And then to answer the other question, so I was building another company. I was learning all the marketing and video stuff, and I just became so fascinated with it because I hadn't really understood how powerful it was. I didn't really understand that marketing is actually like an entrepreneurial engine. And so once that clicked in my brain, I was like, whoa, this is super interesting. I'm going to learn how to do this. And then the group. So here's another thing about products that I think is actually quite interesting as well, is that, and I just made a TikTok about this, is that at any given time, your product is not going to be as good as it could be. Yet you still have to sell it with the confidence that it is what people need right now. Yeah. So like my first group that I did, it was, 75% successful. I learned a bunch of stuff, learned where people were getting stuck, learned where they were happy. I learned why 3 or 4 people dropped out. I kept iterating. I was doing the same thing. So one advantage of my product now is that I do the same thing for myself that I do for my clients. So it's kind of like, it's like really, there's some people have to do marketing that's different from what their product is. And that adds extra work for you to learn, right? You've got to master 2 different things. I'm mastering one thing for myself and my clients. And then for me, I'm a tech guy. I'm a software engineer. I've been writing code since I was, 1985. So technology for me is second nature. And so when I was going through all these issues around content, I just kept building out tech. I didn't intend it to be a product. And so to your point about being at Friday night, not having content for the next day, well, I've got a slew of content for the next day. I can go into my system and just repurpose anything I want. I could literally disappear and have good content for the next month, 2 months. And most people, I mean, some people might say, hey, I've seen that video before, but I think a lot of people wouldn't have remembered it because nobody sees all your videos. So yeah, I built out those automated systems and really just to help me store, organize, tag, and facilitate the workflow of creating content, repurposing content, post-producing content, and distributing content, and then pulling in analytics that allow me to then plan better the next time.
Do you find it like better that stories that you tell works better than like direct educational videos?
Well, I mean, ideally, those educational videos should be telling little stories too. Like people talk so much about these stories, and I remember when I was getting into the content creation, I was like, what are they talking about? Like, are they talking about like campfire stories? Like, I didn't really understand. Like, they kept saying stories. And so like that kind of boggled my mind for a while. Like, I was like, I don't know if I'm doing it. Am I creating those stories? I don't know. So I think there's these micro stories that are about your brand specifically, like the ones we talked about that tell the story of your brand and help other people see how they can achieve what you're achieving. Right. So those are micro marketing stories. But in every video, you want to try to tell a story. You want to grab someone's attention. You want to articulate the problem that they're having. You want to relate on a personal level, like how you understand and how you're an authority to fix it. And then you give them the information that they need to solve it. You can't give them the information to solve it until you've done those first few things that I just talked about, because
that's a good point.
Because they won't listen to you. Like, why would they? If you don't trust me, if you don't think that I've been through the process, if I didn't even,
The problem I always have is like, I don't want to tell people how to do it, the thing I want to talk about, because I'm like, I'm in no authority to do that. I'm like not as skilled as I think I should be to do that, right? So I'm like,
yeah, but you're never there, right?
Yeah, there's the challenge, right? And also like for some, I am like, for someone who is beginning their journey of building products, for example, like I've done it for 8 years. I have my experiences, but I'm thinking like maybe I should share a story. What like for example, how we sold Welder, like how it was acquired.
You should tell all those stories. You should just tell it all. Like, here's an interesting thing that I think is really important is like, you obviously have to get your clients results, right? You have to get them what they want. When your product is early and when your experience is small, you're not going to get your clients as big a result as you could 2 years from now. But if you don't start to sell it anyway, like you'll never get there. And so like
chicken and egg problem.
Yeah, just don't worry. I have literally, like, my entire life, for whatever reason, I have been willing to sell the thing I learned yesterday.
That's good.
And I've made some mistakes. People have been unhappy with my performance. I take ownership of that. I try to make it right. I fail like everyone else, but I'm not afraid to sell what I learned yesterday. And the trick is just continue to build on those skills. So it's not like you're learning new things in different areas all the time, so you never get really good at something. But don't be afraid to sell what you learned yesterday. Package it up in a way that somebody can use it, charge an appropriate price for it.
But that's the skill, right? Like, that's the skill to learn, and that's what is also the chicken and egg problem with content. Like, you are afraid to go on video and say something you might be good at, or you are good at, because you are not good at storytelling, and so you are afraid that it will come out badly, so you won't do it and you will never start. So what helped you, like, apart from the commitment? I know the commitment is important, like, but what was your process to like get better? It was just like doing it every day and like not caring too much what others think?
The commitment is important. I won't gloss by that, because that forced me to solve my problems.
It's like the essence.
Yeah. So I had a commitment, and then I did get training on how to create videos.
So you did take a training? That's
yeah. I took a course that was like, hey, and you know those talking head videos that were real popular on LinkedIn? that I can't stand to watch at this point. I took training on how to do that and how to write a script. I spent a good chunk of money. Like I spent like $5,000 or something to learn how to do that. So I invested.
How many
in
hours?
myself.
How many hours? How many hours
to do that course?
Yeah, to like learn, to be like really in the like learning process.
I mean, I feel like that course actually helped me produce videos right out of the gate that I felt comfortable with at the time. I go back and look at those videos now, and it's very funny to me to watch them, but it's also fun to watch them, So it didn't take that long. I mean, like people don't realize that you can just you can just look at the camera and you can start to talk. You can write the script out. You don't have to restart the video each time. And somebody can come in and just edit out all your mistakes and splice it all together. Every creator on YouTube does that.
But what do you do like this? And we will jump into the automation because that's really this interesting part as well. But this is super interesting for me. What do you do when you start doing this? Like, because you are starting, you just turn on the camera because you're like, okay, I will do it. You record your first video, you record your second video, you record your 10th video. You maybe get someone for the editing, so it's not so much work for you. So you try to streamline, but then still nobody's watching. Like people are not liking it. Like, what would be your advice?
Yeah, so I went through that too. Like I just made a TikTok about this. I had gotten into LinkedIn for like a couple months. I'd been creating text posts and videos, and nothing was working. And I was looking at my wife. I was like, "Is this? People are saying this is how you do it, but like it's not working." And so I was kind of like, that day, and this is kind of like funny how this works out. I had nothing to lose, and so I wrote a post that felt like I had nothing to lose, and I got a client from that post. And so I realized, oh, okay, I'm just not good enough. I wasn't being out there enough. I wasn't telling my true stories. So I would just say, keep going. You made the commitment, right? So like, you have to keep some of these perspectives in. You have to say, oh, I did this because I saw these 8 different people killing it. So I can get there. So that's my story. Like I just kept going because I knew, unless I was totally duped by these people that I found pretty credible, unless I was totally duped by these people, I have a pretty good judge of credibility. So I was trusting in my gut. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to trust my gut. And then I wrote that post because I felt like I had nothing to lose. And then I think it was literally because it was charged with energy and emotion.
Yeah. This is like what I find really interesting with good content creators and storytellers is that they are really, and this is literally becoming a buzzword right now, but authentic and honest and really being able to like speak their truth without being afraid that it will hurt someone, something, their project.
Right.
And you can feel it from the content. Like you can feel this energy, honesty, something behind.
Yeah, and it goes to marketing fund.
Okay, and many people who are starting are afraid of doing this because you are opening yourself up. So you won't do it, and this your content is not so good because
and so it doesn't work.
Yeah,
and that's the funny thing about marketing fundamentals and like building brand, right? So how are you going to stand out? Well, it's by saying stuff that nobody else will say. If you go onto LinkedIn and you see like 10 taglines that you like, and then you copy those taglines, then you're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead. So you have to have your own point of view that nobody else is willing to say. You're the one that's like, you're the elephant in the room. You're like, if you don't figure this out, you're going to lose. And you're out there doing the LinkedIn DMing automation thing because people promised you X number of leads per week or whatever. You're going to lose if you do that. You might get a customer, but you're going to piss off 50 other people, and you would have gotten 20 if you had just done it the right way. And so you have to be willing to go out there, and you have to be willing to go out and say, everyone's promising you leads in the next month, and that's crap. That's like not how it works. Like it's know, like, and trust. So you can't avoid that cycle. So the trick is, how do you accelerate that cycle as quickly as possible? And right now it's creating content.
Super interesting. I think Alex's
Guys,
camera just died.
Yeah, my camera died. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna static for now. It's okay.
Maybe you can switch in the meantime to your laptop and just join in from your laptop.
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Okay, I will take
we have a lot of.
It always happens.
That's the
I
beauty of
noticed
live. Live
I noticed
streaming.
like 3 minutes before the live that my phone is on like 15%. I was like, no way, way I'm gonna make it.
Yeah, so join in from the laptop, please, and we have some questions. So prepare them, and I have one thing to go with this. We are talking about like what I find really interesting is that's what I'm thinking with a lot of products, like technological products that are starting. Like they should do content and be really like building in public and be really open, because that's what the other players, the big players, won't do, because it's impossible for them, because they have all these systems in place not to share information. They can't do it, or they don't have the personas, the energy, and that's your competitive advantage. That's what you do, as you said, that others, the big companies, don't do it, and it's your really strong advantage, right?
I struggle with this every day, because part of the way I've been growing my business is by showing screenshots of my product.
Yeah.
So I know that most likely people are not going to be able to put this together, but I'm showing the product, how it works and how it interacts. And that makes me nervous, because I'm like, hey, somebody could copy me. But the trick is, like, I think anytime you're copying somebody, you're several months behind.
Exactly.
And I'm just going to keep moving faster. And in the meantime, people are seeing that I'm different, and
we are having the same.
Yeah, and this is the other thing, is like the systems and the technology are. So there are other people that will help you do good quality video, right? I have to be real with myself on that. Like, I think I'm really good at it, but there are other people. But there is literally no one with my technology system right now, and so I lean into that, and then people still end up wanting my high quality video, right?
But they trust you because of the videos, right?
Right, exactly. If I didn't do the videos, or if I wasn't doing the work, if I wasn't growing a YouTube channel or a TikTok channel, they wouldn't believe me. But my systems are what get their eye, and they're like, hey, he's different. And so these things work together. And here's the other thing, is like, I didn't know all of this. I didn't know how all this would work. I didn't, but I just kept doing it. And so that's how I arrived here. And so that's what I tell people, is like, you're going to learn some of the most interesting things. And here's what's also interesting, is that you learn these things in a silo. So I have a big depth of information, but nobody else is able to kind of see into my silo. They don't have the perspective I do. So all of the insights I have and the competitive advantage I have in the marketplace, nobody else can pull that from my content. And so, like, even if people were following me, they wouldn't be able to replicate, because they don't have the insights I do. Ultimately, how to put it all together.
We are thinking about it so much, like about like putting more behind the scenes, but like from how we build the product and how we think about it for product makers. But to make it interesting, we really need to like make it really transparent, because otherwise it's like, we are just like trying to scrape it's abstract, it's not specific. Like, for people like us, what is interesting is our 2-hour-long conversations about if we should do this or that, how is the market thinking, customer thinking. But then we are in a space where there are like 3-4 players product wise.
I agree too.
And that's like sharing a lot of specific hard information, and we have little viewers. But if these people are watching, we are like,
Yeah, you know what? Like, I agree. Like, when I look at these different platforms, like in the space you're in, I'm like, there's questions I have. Like, what is it like to have these relationships with these social media platforms, with these different, like, why isn't that nobody integrates with TikTok Live yet?
Because they're not. But yeah, that's interesting. We all know that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like nobody talks about that. But that would be really interesting to a guy like me. And if I had that content, I would have probably have found you guys talking about some of that stuff. Like the background. I mean, I'm also a technology guy. So like, if I understood some of the, like, where things are going, and like how these relationships work with these different companies, and like why you have this and somebody else doesn't. And I think it would actually be pretty interesting, because those are things I'm trying to figure out. but I go to these different sites. Like I'll go to product X or product Y.
Don't worry, mention them. We are not afraid of it.
I'm not trying to promote anybody else.
It's good.
And I'll go into the chat, those little chat bots they have, and I'll be like, hey, how come you don't do this? And they'll be like, well, we haven't. And I'm just like, that was zero help. So, but if there was like this cool article that's like, hey, here's why TikTok doesn't have integrations with Live yet. And we've talked to them, and here's the roadmap and here's what's going to happen. And here's what you can do in the meantime. So there was one company that did something like that. And
Streamlabs, I think.
Yeah, I can't. It was that. And that was helpful. I started looking at their product. And I agree. So it's like people don't understand. You guys do, because you're trying to exercise that muscle, but people want education. And if you're the one that educates them, they're going to see your product. Then they'll be like, oh, he has a product. What is it about? Let me learn more about it.
Yeah, that's true.
And so like, I'm not the first person to say this, but you should really be thinking about how can your company essentially be an educational media company that just happens to provide these awesome products on the back end.
Exactly. Definitely agree. Alex, give me questions.
Yeah, let's go through the questions. I have like 4 of those, so we can
talk about the automation stuff too.
Yeah, we have to do it. Yeah. We have to be quick. Okay, so quick questions, automation, let's go into it.
It's actually a nice bridge, because the first one is from Sandra. She's asking, what's your favorite automation tool that we should all look into? So we can start with that.
Yeah, so for me, it's Airtable. And it's not necessarily, it's kind of more of a centralized database. And then I connect other tools to it, like Zapier or Zapier. I never know what to call it. And then some sort of storage engine like Google Drive or Dropbox. And what that allows me to do is to build a coherent data store of all my content with references to when things were published, links to everything, the copy, the media, the images, and everything has a unique ID. And with that, I'm able to orchestrate and integrate with other products. So like Frame.io just came out. Well, actually, it's probably been out for a while, but it's becoming real popular right now. So it's something that allows you to interact with your editor really, really easily. And so what I've done and what I've realized is that what's gonna make, and I've been thinking about this a lot, what's going to make people competitive in the next few years is being quick and nimble and using the best tools at the moment to create really interesting, unique content. Because what's going to end up happening is there's going to be an influx of new tools that help people solve content creation problems. But most of them are going to be done in such a way that it makes you look more like everyone else. They're going to make it easy in such a way that it waters you down, right? And so what I'm trying to build out is, how can I build a unique, nimble system that pulls everything together, that allows me to work with all the best tools at the moment, so that so when something cool comes out, I can grab it and pull it into my stack. So for me, the automation all revolves around Airtable, Google Drive or Dropbox, and Zapier. And then I use those to basically push and pull content to whatever other cool platform I want to use at any given time. But it allows me that centralized database. So like tomorrow, if I don't have content, I can go into the recycle bin. It's literally called my recycle bin. And I can just pull content from it and just push it out again, recycle it. And that just takes a couple clicks. I could pull 30 videos and just schedule them all. They'll be ready to schedule. And that could be a mixture of like auto posting to places like YouTube, or manually posting them, because there's benefit to doing both.
Airtable and Zapier is just such a strong combo. Like, it's insane.
It is. I've seen people try to do what I do with Google Sheets, and you're going to get yourself into all kinds of craziness, because it's not.
Airtable is built like a database with just with like a better like G Sheet interface, or like, so it's so smart. It's so smart. So take me to your process, like from idea to a lot of content.
Yeah, so this is an important thing, is that there's 2 essential ways of creating content. There's filming something like this. So right now I'm filming it on the side, and this is getting me. It's going to go, as soon as I'm done, I'll have this video all recorded. I can drop it into my system, and my team will immediately start to chop this up.
Nice.
So that's one thing. And how that automation works is I'll drop it into Google Drive. Google Drive will pull that into Airtable. Airtable will then put it into a like a Kanban board that says, hey, here's all the videos that need to be repurposed. And then the team can grab one and they'll pull that down into the script where they can pull the clips. And then depending on how much audio or video quality I want, a video editor will come and take those clips and do them in Adobe, or somebody will finish it directly into script. And then they will export those videos. They will drop them into frame.io where people can make any suggestions or tweaks. And then from frame.io, automatically syncs back into Airtable where then things can be scheduled out to social media.
It's beautifully simple and strong. So
that's the thing. It's also quite simple, right? Like
it is, but it's beautiful.
People show me their things and I'm like, whoa, like that workflow is going to drive you nuts. Like you can't do that. Like check this out. Like how simple this is.
I was playing Factorio. It's a game, amazing game from Czech developers, like really about automation and all these things. And it's like, I just can see all of this in there, like just beautifully made. How are you making sure that your editors know what clips to take?
Yeah. So that just takes a little bit of work so my editor doesn't pick the clips. So I have someone on my team, Erin, who picks the clips. And the way that we've done that is she's practiced a lot. Right? It's a skill.
It is.
She's getting better and better. And every time, in the beginning, it was kind of like, I don't know about that one. And now I'm like, hey, that was a pretty cool clip. So you kind of have to trust somebody to work through that process, right? Like if you, like I've run into people where they're like, yeah, I gave somebody these clips and like they were horrible. And so I stopped doing it. I was like, well,
that happened to us.
I was like, well, I mean, what do you expect? You think the person's just going to walk away and be like, here's the magical clip of you, like, yeah. So like you have to like, so I still have a framework. Like you have, so there's like certain check boxes that the person needs to understand is like, there has to be some context. If you start this clip out of the blue with zero context, so there's a skill, like you can look at the clip and you can say, hey, if I move this clip to the beginning, can I add a little context to what I'm about to talk about? Like you can engineer a hook essentially. And in Descript, that's actually quite easy to do. So there's that, right? Like you have to allow the person to gain the skill. It's not that hard. They're going to have to make a few clips to do it. But I like, is there context? Make sure you can tell me what the value is. So you might have seen some of my videos where I call it the $5 rule. Like you need to make sure someone feels like they got $5 or more from you when they watch this clip. And so in order to do that, they have to walk away saying, wow, I'm glad I saw this content. Because I saw it, I know that I need to do this. And that's going to make my life better in this way. And it makes me feel better in this way. So if you make the clip and then you can answer the context question and the value question, you have a good chance of it being a good clip, but it's going to take some effort. But it doesn't need to be a video editor. In fact, sometimes, and there's nuance here too. Like certain video editors don't want to make microclips. Certain video editors don't want to go find clips for you. So just because they edit videos doesn't mean they're the right person to pull the clip. And it doesn't mean that they even want to make micro content. Because some people like to make cinematic videos, right? They like to make really high polished videos that took them 3 weeks to make. And if you tell them to pump out 30 clips a day, they're going to hate you.
Yeah. So how big is your team? And when you are setting up a team for a client, what's your recommendation?
Yeah. So for me, it's Erin who pulls the clips and also does some editing in Descript. I have a part-time editor and that's it. And that blows people away because I create way more content than most people, but we're so efficient and dialed in. And
how much time a week do you spend on creating the amount of content you do, which is really all over the TikTok, all over the LinkedIn, and now even YouTube?
Yeah, so I do. So the things that take the most dedicated time are when I do selfie style videos, and that will take me. I'm pretty efficient at that now because I've made so many, but I can create like 14 videos in like an hour.
Nice.
because I just go through it. Like I'm just like, my brain is programmed to say these messages.
And the scripts, like you are coming with
I don't write the
scripts on
scripts
the go.
anymore. I don't write the scripts anymore. I can write those
Where do you take the ideas?
just from what's happening, because I'm interacting with people. That's the part that people miss, is I'm interacting with people and they're asking me questions and my clients are asking me questions. So it's like, it's all being driven by like actual life experience. I don't have to sit, like people say, hey, go to Answer the Public. And like, really, like, you're going to go to Answer the Public and just like take these random things and create videos around it? I mean, to me, that seems like probably not the best way, actually. I do have a matrix that I can look at that kind of sparks things if I'm really, but the trick here is like, there are ways a new person should do this. And there's the way I do it. I don't need those things anymore. Right. But
so what would you recommend to someone who is new?
So a good way to like spark ideas is, number one, I gave you that point of view kind of thing with the pillars and the thought leadership content. That's like a broad level understanding. And then I also have this kind of like idea generation matrix. So if you imagine a table and you put your pillars at the top, right? So I talk about video, I talk about automated systems, I talk about entrepreneurship, I talk about growing your business, right? So those are like top level things. And then on the down the side, you can talk about, myths, proof points, diagrams. So you build yourself a matrix. So then you can just basically cross match between pillar and topic. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I can share the sheet or a video around the sheet. But I'm trying to remember some more of the things on that sheet. But it's like thought leadership topics, controversial statements. So you have this matrix, right? You have your pillar topics at the top, and then you've got all the items down.
Okay, yeah. So
and then you can basically just like go like this, right? And just pick something. And it's such like, if you've got 4 across the top and 10 down on those, that's like 40 different options, if I'm doing the math right. And so that allows you to kind of stay fresh.
So for me to like recap, what's your process here? And then again, we have some questions, but it's like we could talk for hours about it. So interesting. So you have like this, you have your space, your like not like field. You have pillars in this space where it's like, as you said, like maybe content creation and all these things like that you want to speak about. You are interested in them, and so on and so on. And then on the horizontal lines, you have like kind of takes, point of views on these different space, like
like prompts,
right?
What's a client result? Have I created a worksheet for this? Have I created a diagram for this? Is there a myth I can dispel about one of these topics? Is there something
that's super interesting?
Is there something I know about the future that I can talk about one of these topics? That kind of thing. Is there a controversial statement that I can make about one of these 4 things? And so if you just stare at that thing, you just can kind of like pick one and then
you take all recorded content, put it into Google Doc, Google Sheet, Google Drive.
I just put it in Notion, just like an idea.
Okay. And when you record these files, they go into Google Drive.
Yeah, as soon as I record them, I'll drop them into Google Drive. They get pulled into the system. Actually, I drop these types of videos. I drop straight into Frame.io, and then Frame.io syncs those with my system, because then the editor can pull those down, edit them, drop them back into Frame.
So you only have these automation systems for the longer pieces that needs clips and repurposing and cleaning.
No, the automation works on the other ones too. It's just a slightly different workflow. Those get dropped into Frame, and then Frame is syncing that between Airtable. So there's an automation between Frame and Airtable. And so when the editor drops the final versions in, those go back into Airtable, and then they follow the same flow. So it's just a slightly different flow because there's a slight difference in how they get edited. I have a YouTube video that literally shows like the whole thing. the workflow.
What would be number one thing in terms of content creation automation, which helps with consistency, and consistency is essential to a person who is beginning?
Staying organized. So core thing, if you didn't have all my fancy stuff, it would just be like, hey, I can just put a file in Google Drive and then it gets pulled into Airtable with links to everything, and folders are created for me. So I don't have to create, because it's such a pain, right? Like create a folder, and then like now when I go to publish it, I'm like clicking through 8 folders and there's a slight delay in the Google Drive, and you're like, like I just, like all of that, all of those, like if you think about like, if you have rocks in your shoe, you're not going to go walking.
Yeah. I heard it somewhere already.
I didn't create that.
Yeah,
but so I just was like, what are all these rocks? And I'm solving very like small rocks at this point.
Yeah. What I found really essential is making the content creation sustainable. That's why we are like building this tool, right? Like, because this was our problem. Like creating content, recording content, our own, like just shooting camera at us and talking with the guys, super interesting. But then to get edit it, make clips, post it out, make a cover photo, like make a description, like all of this is so much. And it can make like from 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour long recording, like time slot that you make for it, like 8 hours of work, which is too much when you are running a business. And that's just like too heavy, right?
Yeah. So what I did is like, I just made it so I'm not a big believer in using AI to eliminate humans from creating the content, because I think that's what makes it good. So my thought was like, okay, so I'm not going to just I'm not going to try to automate this by just like making crappy content. I'm going to require myself to do the work that's involved, but how can I align everything so it's so streamlined and things are just dropped into my plate, and I can just kind of like do just the things I need to do, and then move on. And that's, and you said it was pretty simple. I was like, yeah. So I was like, it has to be simple. It has to put it right in my face. It has to take care of all the little things, all the little rocks in my shoe. It has to get rid of all those things. And then I want it to be able to also, I want to be nimble, and I want to be able to use the best tool on the market. So if Frame.io comes out, I want to be able to integrate with that very quickly. I did it over a weekend, and all of a sudden my product was like 20 times better.
Nice. Versatile, not vendor locked.
Yeah. So I'm going to like, so I've always thought Descript was a cool tool. Mostly because they didn't try to make me do something that I felt was against my own best interest, which a lot of marketing tools will do. It will look cool. You'll be like, hey, that's pretty neat. And then you'll start using it, and it'll have you doing all the wrong things. So I want to be able to use the best tool that's going to help me be the best creator. And so like that's the engineer in me. Like I'm just like maximize.
Yeah, it's the process, like creating the process. Alex, do we have questions?
Yeah. So first of all, Sandra's reaction to the automation question. She said, "Oh my God, I use Airtable and just setting up automations with Zapier. Thank you." So I guess she liked her answer.
All right, cool.
By the way, your microphone is probably not selected properly.
Sorry?
Your microphone is probably not selected properly.
Because the Yeti, I just have it for show. Like, I'm actually not using it because I have no way to connect it to the MacBook Air. So, yeah, you exposed me, man. You just exposed me. Anyways, we have some questions on YouTube. I'm sorry about the microphone.
Yeah, fly through the questions. Let's do it.
Okay. So first one from Pocket Video School. That's Mark. He watches us a lot. Is Steven managing to monetize his TikTok strategy, or are the clients coming from other platforms?
Yeah, a lot of my clients come from TikTok. So TikTok's a great place to generate business.
All right. Yeah. So 3 questions from Bill. Question 1: How Steven's client's acquisition system works for his company? So
it's very simple. Like on all my platforms, I have a simple link where they can book a call with me.
Nice.
And then they book a call, and I close the deal.
You use Linktree?
Right now I'm using something called what is it called? It's not Linktree, because like for whatever reason on TikTok, if you use Linktree, like that shows this warning when they click, when they click it. So I'm using something else, which I forgot what it's called. It's not important really what you use. Like And here's another insight for your funnels, guys, is don't overcomplicate it. You'll go to some people's link tree and it's like 20 things.
Yeah.
Too much.
And I'm like, what am I going to click on? So I have one thing. You can book a call with me, and then
It's enough.
and then then we can do business or not. So it's
Nice.
my funnel is super simple.
Yeah, Vite actually has something similar to Linktree, but you can even put a video there. Might be interesting
Yeah.
for you. It's a like little project.
I will eventually put a video in the line there, but right now I don't.
All right, another question. What do you think about automated content channels on YouTube? Basically, niche YouTube channels that have no personality. For example, Animals Live channel. Are those good assets to pursue building?
So I don't have any expertise in this. I know what he's talking about, but I have no idea. My guess is some people are making money doing that. I couldn't imagine doing that.
Yeah, sounds like the exact opposite of what you're actually trying.
Yeah, but I think I saw quite a lot of shit. Like it's a viable thing. In my opinion.
Like it's probably something that can work, but I have no experience whatsoever in doing that.
All right, last one question, still from Bill. What would Steven do if he came back to his 21-year-old self without all of his experience, but just knowing the path he wants to pursue?
I would tell myself to relax a little bit. Like everything's going to be okay. And I guess the question just kind of becomes like, is that 21-year-old self in this moment right now? If so, I guess I would just say like educational, because knowing what I know now, the educational content was just as important back then. How it was delivered was different. How, where the communities were was different. But I would say, look, create more educational content. Get that content in front of people, and learn to articulate yourself. Learn how to like tell people stuff, and because people used to ask me about how my first company was started, and I'd be like, I don't know. It's like I got the name because I was playing Doom. Like my first company's name was Ricochet, and that was my handle on Doom, and so I just made a company with my Doom handle, and like now I have a business, and people would be like, oh, okay, and it wasn't that compelling. So like learn how to like tell that story in a way that excites you and really digs into like. So those are probably the things I would say. Relax, learn to articulate yourself, make some content, build cool products, do good work for your clients.
I loved it.
I think the articulation part is so essential. It's like I wanted to check in on that here, but we don't have any more time. But it's so important to learn articulate yourself. It's so important skill for everyone who want to be like in the creators economy, who wants to do business. Like you are always telling someone what's in your head, and you need to be able to make it like actionable or listenable even. And I think that's also why creating content is so like great. It's not only to get views and not only to sell your product, but to learn to articulate yourself.
Yeah, I tell people like even if everything that I have falls apart, like I'm gonna go into the next thing like with such a leg up. And I agree. Like sometimes people just don't value that. So in the sales calls, like that doesn't really matter to them. I wish it did, and I do tell them. And some people do value that, some people don't. But that is the big value, actually. That is in the end. That is what's going to make all the money.
Exactly.
I mean, you can make $1 million like this. That's why I talk about, and I hone this over saying it a lot of times. I help people create persuasive video and the automated systems to scale that, right? And I won't help you scale it until you are making good videos. Like sometimes it's really actually quite fascinating. People come to me having not done any content whatsoever, and they're like, hey, can you help me get on all the platforms? And I'm like, are you making content? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, there's plenty of people right on LinkedIn. Like you don't need, if your content's good, you'll get all the customers you need right there or on TikTok. Like you don't need to scale. But I think the systems make people think, oh, this will make it easier for me, and so they want that. But people are too eager to scale before they've done any of the initial work, which is like you got to make video that people care about, and then when you can do that, then you can start to like scale it out. I mean, you can still make that process as easy as possible too, like the process of making those initial videos, and we can streamline that process, make it super simple, make it so you can do it. But like, I'm not going to help you scale it if you haven't even gotten any business whatsoever from any of your videos. There's no point in trying to scale it. It's like garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah,
just a lot
that's
more
where the
garbage
commitment
out.
comes in. That's where the commitment comes in, right? Like you have to start doing it, start grinding it, then you can start optimizing it, because you learn by doing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, that's why sometimes like when I'm talking to new clients, I can tell they're gonna do this, but I can tell they don't quite know what they're in for. And there's nothing I can do to communicate it. So I love when a client comes to me and is like, man, I know this is going to be hard. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I have to do it. I'm like, yes, thank you.
Like, we will figure it out, but you got what you need to have.
Sometimes clients come to me and they're like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing content, but I'm also thinking about doing this automated LinkedIn DM thing. Like, I'm kind of like on the fence which one I should do. And I'm like, uh-oh, like, you know, like it's, you know, like, please, if you're going to do this content thing, you got to believe in it wholeheartedly to be successful.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool. I'm just saying hi quickly to everyone watching. Igor, thanks for coming in. Saba, good you joined in.
Yeah, thanks for everybody joining, man. I appreciate it.
Also, Ermal is
nice.
asking me to show the microphone that I'm flexing right here. So yeah, it's just a simple Blue Yeti. It's the nightmare of every podcaster. I'm not sure.
That's one I used to use. I used to use that one.
It gets
I love it.
great, man. But Johan
Works
is
good.
like, in love with it. And
I love
Works
it.
good.
I love it. But it's like, I get it. I get why there's the beef, but it's simple. You plug it, it works, it picks up what it needs. It sounds better than your laptop microphone. All I need to add.
Yeah, I mean, you got to, I mean, whatever you like, that's a good piece of equipment. I still use it from time to time.
Cool. I think we are at the end of the show. Steven, thank you for coming in.
This was awesome. This was fun. I want to do it again when you guys want to.
Yeah, I want to do it again because we didn't get into all the like topics that we could have gone through. I think we can double down on the automations, go into like every detail in there. It might be super interesting.
Absolutely.
To see that.
Whenever you want to do it again, I'll be down. I know you got other cool guests coming too, but if you want to fit me back in it, even sometime soon, I'm down.
Cool. Super happy to hear that. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for being our first guest. It's different in Czech Republic. You say host for the guests.
No worries.
Thanks for being the first guest here. And thanks everyone for watching. It was an amazing show. And see you next week in a similar time. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Thanks for everybody for the questions. Talk to you later. Bye.
Cool.